Hi guys, now that deer season's over with, it's time to do some coyote trapping, predator control work, make some money off some fur. I typically use MB550s. The reason I hate Dukes, look how bent up that lever is. Brand new trap, never been used. Look at that lever, and look at that lever. Fresh out of the box, and you got to be modifying them. I don't like that. With an MB, ready to go right out of the box. The reason I typically don't like Duke traps, but the reason I bought these, I got them at Field and Stream, $4 a piece. Can't beat that kind of price, so I bought them all. So I typically paint all my traps out of the box, degrease them with carburetor cleaner, and just spray paint them until I make a catch. Although I've got to bend this, it's going to mess the paint up. And then once you make a catch, then we got to dye them. So we got all these that we're fixing to dye. And I'll show you this trap that was painted, and I don't know whether that was a... Only thing these have been used is foxes and some raccoons I got in my fox sets. But see how that lever is bent up? See that big gap right there? That's why I don't like Duke traps. They bend real easy. Where that doesn't happen with these MBs. But see, these were painted, but after you make a catch, they chew the paint off, and at that point, how are you going to get the rust off? That's when I have to dye and wax them. But the reason for this video, I wanted to give you some advice. When you dye and wax, make sure you get your temperature up high enough for long enough, or the dye will not take, so to speak. You can actually rub it off if you don't get it high enough. I use the logwood dye, and they tell you to simmer in hot water just below boiling point for approximately an hour. But if you don't get it up to boiling for at least an hour, the dye won't stick to the rust and prevent it. So that's what we're doing today. I forget where this tub came from. It was used for a birthday party with apples in it and bobbing for apples, but it's pretty inexpensive. I don't know, Tractor Supply or something. And then I just use a propane with an old turkey deep fryer to hold it with. So got to get it to a roaring boil here and add the dye and stick our traps in there. So you have to get it above a simmer. You got to get it boiling. But anyways, I'm also gonna got a bunch of body grips that I used catch groundhogs on. There's a bunch out front. We're gonna dye those, but do not wax those. But after we dye these, then we'll wax it. If you look at these were never painted or anything. Fresh out of the box. Bought them at Field and Stream, $4 a piece, and each of them has made several fox and raccoon catches, and they were never ever treated. Just straight in the ground. They weren't even degreased. The only reason I dye them is to protect them. But look how bent up that lever is, okay? And all that had was a raccoon or a fox in it. See how bent that lever is? Look how bent that one is. That's why I'm not a fan of Dukes, but look at that one. Every one of them's bent. But it is what it is. When you pay $4 a trap, you get what you pay for. Just to show you, you don't have to dye and wax them to catch. I've stuck them in the ground straight out of the box and caught coyotes. So I'm not really worried about scent control. I dye to protect the traps, because you take care of your traps, they'll last you a lifetime, and they'll pay for themselves after several years with your catches. I don't know if it gets hot enough to make an effect now, but I need to take all the safety latches off the body grips, so that I don't know if that'll mess with the spring temper, the temper of the spring or not, but we want to relax them before we throw them in there. As you're bringing it up to temperature, I go ahead and put the traps in and stir it. But as you can see, I want to bring it up to a roaring, till it's boiling really good, so that what I go by is when you can't see the water, when there's enough steam coming off, you can't see the water, then you're good to go. And I put 1 packet of logwood dye in somewhere between 5 to 6 gallons of water. Basically 1 5-gallon bucket of hot water I pour in here to save on the propane a little bit. But we still got a ways to go, but I'll go ahead and put the traps in there so we don't have to heat them up. My coyote that I'm tanning here, we need to periodically stir it. But I decided to start tanning some of my coyotes on myself with that alcohol turpentine mixture. Coyotes are thin enough skin that you can use the turpentine and alcohol to tan them with, and probably get more money that way. It's been heating up for an hour now, and you'll see as it starts to heat up and get to temperature, it's still not nearly warm enough, but you'll see the old wax come off the traps, and you got to get the old wax off the trap before the dye can take to it. But the dye won't take unless you get the temperature high enough. You can see if I pull them out, you'll see they're still rust. So it has to get high enough temperature before the dye will work. They say you can do a cold method where you let them soak for a week, but if you got to get it to boiling, how's a week gonna work? Anyway, got a ways to go here. But you'll also notice the color is changed a lot darker. You put a windbreak up. That's one of my problems right now. It's 20 degrees outside. But when I get done boiling and dyeing these, I'll put this board over top of this and leave it and use it again. I've reused this dye several times. But if you do it in the summertime, you got to watch because it'll mold really bad. But once you boil it, I think the mold breaks down. But another reason to wax your trap is if you smell this right now, you can smell this dye, this logwood dye. It's got a distinctive odor, and that's another reason to wax your traps. I mainly wax them to protect them once they're in the ground. But I'll try and skim some of this wax off as it builds. I use a double boiler method. I don't think that pouring a couple blocks of wax on top of this and pulling them through really sets the wax into the pores. I think it's just a superficial waxing. So I use a double boiler method of waxing. I'll show you that. I'm going to do that on a different day, but I'll show you that later. Alright, I've been heating for over an hour. It's still not at the boiling point. Losing lots of water evaporation, but you'll see the traps are starting to turn black now, which is what we want. The rust will turn from rust to black, but it's still not hot enough to dye, so to speak, or set the dye. See that 550? It's still got, see still got a ways to go. It's just starting to bubble, and once I get it bubbling, it needs to go for an hour. But you'll really start to see the wax coming off of it now. We want to bring it up to a roil. The way I usually say is you can't see the water for the steam coming off. The wind is really messing me up. I cannot get this up to temperature for nothing, but you want it steaming so bad you can't see the water. But as you can see, the water's just starting to boil now. We've been going for 2 hours trying to get this water boil. Got the regulator wide open, but the wind, I had this happen trying to deep fry turkeys, same thing. So just starting to boil, but where I want it is where you cannot see the water for the steam coming off of it.